In today's episode, we're going to talk about, is your agent coaching you through your sale?
It's a good question.
It's a very, very important thing. We've just gone through a really, I'd call it a pretty fantastic campaign at 3 Tavistock Road in Frankston South.
Yep.
Property that we took to auction. How many, I guess in your experience, Dad, you're big on coaching, big on getting feedback, big on questions that you ask the buyers, but no different to asking the seller as well. How important do you think it is for an owner to know where everything's at?
Oh, look, it's imperative for them to get the best result. To make an educated decision, you need to be fully transparent. And I think that's probably one of the things within our industry where a lot of agents will overpromise and underdeliver, and will blame the market conditions. And yet we're professionals. We have statement of information. We have real-time results happening as we speak. So for you as a professional, you should be able to go in, explain, okay, well, that was a great result because, that went to auction. There was a lot of heat. It went on the market at a pretty good time. And as such, the ego and the fear of missing out kicked in, versus this property that was overpriced, selling the market 4 months, sold for X. So it's really important.
Really important. Educate. I want to ask, just for anyone who is thinking about selling, what can they expect if they list with us? What do they expect on a feedback standpoint? After each campaign, once they've launched, how does it all look?
Well, we like to thoroughly, with all the, like under the engine, so to speak, of where all the, SOI, all the analytics for buyer inquiry, we like to share that information with our clients. So that's weekly. But then every inspection we do have, we go through meticulously and we'll let them know after the open, hey, we had X amount of groups through. And then we'll sort of give them more of a detail of what the buyers are feeling. Whether it be if we do the open on the Saturday, we'll say, hey, Josh, we had 6 groups through. Hey, there's a party there that's interested, or look, it wasn't too much. Some good feedback was this. We'll catch up Monday, but by Monday we already have an idea by Monday afternoon where the buyers sit, where it's pricing that compared to other properties, where the buyers see value, but also anything that can help the owners achieve a result for them and what they want to do.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And in terms of if you're going to auction, because a private sale is a lot different, obviously you do open homes for a private sale, and then you're getting offers in, whether it be that day or early next week. With an auction campaign, how's that run a little bit different from an owner's side?
Well, there's a couple of meetings. So whenever we list a property, we like to get our clients in for a campaign launch. So we like to sort of discuss with them what the photos, the marketing, everything's going to look like. Because the last thing you want to do is put it on without their consent. And we've seen so many times where agents have just done that. And it is a bit of a rookie mistake. But with an auction campaign, we're very diligent. So we'll do the grand preview. We get in. We have a full process of all the little KPIs of what we need to do. But generally, that first week, we will sit down face to face, whether it be our coffee shop or at the owner's home, and just discuss with them where the market's going, so that they feel competent enough to know, okay, we're on the right track. Or if we're not getting the numbers that we need, well, then what's their options? And by giving them an option as to what we do, it's entirely up to them how we go.
Yeah, well, I guess feedback leads to more money at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely.
The more that we can learn from what the market is saying,
for sure,
the better it is that our process can be tweaked. And if we need to do anything differently, we can pivot and be more strategic and proactive in that approach. So it's pretty cool. And it's cool to see you do, every, auction a week out, you always bring them in and actually educate them about what can happen on an auction day. Because I think a lot of people, you get to the auction day and you have no idea. You might have Googled it or looked or had a previous experience, but everyone does operate a bit differently. You'll at least elaborate on the few different options that can occur, where you think what will happen on the day.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's super important too.
That's super important. I mean, look, when I first started doing auction campaigns, a lot of the times, say, if there wasn't enough heat, and when I mean heat, enough buyers that were registered that I knew that were going to bid, owners were told, and we were getting told by our managers and bosses at the time, to, give the clients hope and yes, it's going to sell under the hammer. And then on the day, it was hard as an agent because you didn't really want to. I knew truly well where it was going to land. It wasn't going to sell. So you can imagine as an owner, biggest day, you're selling your biggest asset. You got the champagne ready on ice. You've got your friends there. You got family, and then the excruciating pain of not selling, the humiliation. You know, some owners and business owners were like, you know, that's what we want. We actually want them to feel that so that they get their head out of the cloud so that you can educate them, get them in price and sell it at a lower level. I like to say to my clients, here's the reality. You know, depending on where your reserve is going to be set on the day, there's three things that can happen. One, we either sell it under the hammer and the magic happens. Two, we pass it in. We don't successfully get what you want, but we pass it in on a live bid, which means that we can then negotiate and be able to potentially get an unconditional sale on the day. Or three, we just don't have any interest and that we may need to be protective of their reserve and their price, but give them an understanding of how we're going to go about it. And I think that's really important. So when you give it a holistic point of view, it just makes
there's no hidden surprises.
There's no hidden surprise, and that's the last thing.
It's your biggest asset.
The hidden surprise, the best hidden surprise is when the magic happens, and that when it surpasses, you know, like
that's been a proactive approach though, because we've taken what the market's saying, we understand, and there's, you know, we make a lot of calls, we have a very diligent process, we make sure, and the good thing about, I mean, I'm sitting next to the best agent auctioneer on the peninsula right now, which is a very honouring thing. He is also my dad, but it is good to see because his process, you know, it has a lot of auctions can be scary. I think a lot of people can deter from them and they go, it's risky. But when you have a certain amount of feedback and understanding of what the market's doing for the entirety of a campaign, you've got a heap amount of trust in that process. And at the end of the day, that is when the golden minutes, because if you're educated right, you set the reserve really well, you can see some really cool results.
And to me, I always say, you know, we play a hand. So as agents, our job is to really set it up exceptionally well. So when we get to auction day, we've got buyers being able to bid and really have that fight and that fear of missing out. And then as the auctioneer, the golden minutes is when you kick into that gear where you've surpassed a number that the buyers aren't even aware of. They're emotionally attached. And it's emotionally charged.
They're in it to win it.
And they're in it to win it. And they pay a premium. So for us, look, we're very understanding of what our clients need. Having sold a lot of properties, having auctioned, you know, over 1,000 auctions in the local area, I just don't talk about, you know, the bidding side of it. The auction rules have been I talk about the understanding of what it means to live in the area. And I've lived and breathed the area. I know the best parts of Frankston South. I know 3199 like the back of my hand. And, you know, it's such an underrated area. And to me, it's just...
We won't be able to say that forever.
No, we won't. But I still believe with the infrastructure that we have, with the train lines, with everything, with all the great things coming forward that Frankston has, it's going to take off.
Yeah. And I guess the hardest thing in an industry where it can be hard to trust, the best thing about what you offer is being the agent but the auctioneer on that same day. You're at all the opens, so you're meeting these buyers, you get to know them by name, you ask them questions, you know sort of where their budgets are sitting. You have an indication of what, you know, they love about the home. You can kind of pull on those heartstrings a little bit, and you do see that. I don't know if anyone has come to an auction of ours. It is pretty entertaining, and Dad often will call on people by names, which even at the very end of last week's auction, you called on a lady who hadn't even put a bid in, but you knew that she was there to obviously bid. She was just exceeded her expectations. So it is a pretty cool thing, because at the end of the day, there's not a lot of... normally speaking, I just want to add on to one thing. Normally you'll have an out-of-town, you know, auctioneer come in who will be there. They'll be basically an order taker. And regardless of how many agents you might have, you know, with another business, there's only probably going to be at one time, you know, there was only one agent conducting all those opens, or maybe one or two. So only they're going to know the buyers in the crowd. Great thing is when you've got someone you can trust who's actually calling on those bids from those people, he can identify them out in the crowd.
Correct. And that's
a huge, huge advantage.
It's a huge advantage. And look, you know, we've been at auction too, as you've seen in the past, where, you know, as an auctioneer, it's always great to sell it under the hammer in front of the glory that you can,
it's a good feeling.
It's a great feeling, right? But there's times where we have to, you know, assess the crowd, assess the momentum to know whether the buyers are there. And that's really important.
And
how we've been
You're
training.
so good at that though.
But the great thing is it's letting the owners know, hey, we have those buyers here. Or we've been at auctions where we've said, hey, we don't know the buyers that were registered, they haven't turned up.
But another thing on that, you're very calm and collected when it comes to pivoting, and it might not be going the way it is. Like the auction didn't just fly over the weekend. You had to go in and be strategic and calm, collected.
Can I break that down for you?
Yeah, break it down.
Look, the thing that a lot of clients were, we had a strong opening bid, as you know, that lady, and where we probably were going to start, you know, she came in and probably knocked out a couple of those other bidders. We had a certain buyer that we know that they only want to bid when they hear the words, it's on the market. And
just for anyone, because some people still don't actually understand what it means on the market. That means that you're bidding
and
for the house, and if you are the last bid and that's been declared on the market, you are buying that house.
Correct. And the great thing about it was, with an auction, sometimes people go, the bidder's bidding against himself, or it's just getting it to a level where you can get it on the market and sell the home under auction terms, unconditionally, under the hammer, etc. So in that situation on Saturday, I put a vendor bid, and I said it was my own one and only vendor bid, and then was able to get an increase from the buyer who made an offer at 10.30, got them to 10.60, and then went inside and spoke. And the owners were very trusting, and they said, Juan, you know, what are the other buyers doing? And I said, right now they're not doing anything. We just need to remain.
And we were working. We were working. I was pushing. I was pushing everyone, saying, "Where are you guys at? We're out. Yep. We're waiting." I'm like, okay, well, we've got, you know, one of two.
Yep.
So sorry to cut
you short. It was certainly, you know, we know that you were trying to get those buyers, and then sometimes some buyers are only, like we know, they'll only bid when they know it's on the market. Explaining that to the owners was important. As I had that situation, and in that meeting, I did say, if we hit your reserve, we could potentially get it. Fortunately, I come up with a plan of attack. I went out, spoke to the buyer who was holding the highest bid, said that if you go to this figure, we're on the market, and I'll call it 3 times quick, and we'll knock it down to you. And she was obliging, went to 10.80, and then we got an increment afterwards from the other buyer. And the great thing with that was having the $1,000 bids.
It was a battle of the buyer's agents.
Yeah, it was a battle of the buyer's agents. So the great thing was, I think there was over 130 or 140 bids.
Yeah.
But you know, from going from being on the market at 10.80 to 1.211, that's 131,000. And that's life-changing for so many people.
And just for anyone out there, we could have easily passed this property in and then got, you know, what do you reckon we would have got to?
I think we would have probably sold it for around the 1070.
Yeah.
And that was where, that was the thing where I spoke to the owner and said, look, this is what we discussed in the meeting, this is what I would suggest. And they were fully aware. So when they made that decision, but they were also leaning on us as professionals, I said, I firmly believe that we could get it. I can't guarantee it, but I need you to know I think this could be in your best interest.
Yeah.
Because if we do pass it in, you're going to be limited on what you can do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we flamed the auction and it went crazy. You were bouncing from buyer to buyer, and
it's an important one. When we're start of an auction, you know, when we're doing the open, we're making sure we're asking, are these people bidding? Are they looking to bid? We already kind of know. You already have the registrations of who you know are bidding, but you know, you have some unsuspecting people that will rock up on the day and put their hand up. So it is a really seamless process.
The great thing is here in Victoria, and unlike in New South Wales and Queensland, you can't just turn up to a public auction and bid in New South Wales or Queensland. You have to register. Here in Victoria, You don't have to register. We like to make sure that our purchasers know trust account details, the terms and conditions, all of the above, so that when they are successful, that they know what's going on. And that's really important. So for our clients,
we're very process driven.
We're very process driven. I think, look, of 20 years of doing auctions, for me as a listing agent, and as you know, and calling the auctions, it's a great feel for our clients. So our clearance rate at the moment this year is 100%, and all our auctions have certainly had some spirited bidding. And that's something we love doing. It's not our first rodeo, so we know what to do. If we can't get the result, we'll pass it in. We don't see it as a failure. Some auctioneers will say, "Oh, passed it in, didn't sell." But, listing agents gets really down and out. To me, it's like, hey, we pivoted. We'll pivot from here to here, and we're going to get that result.
You're going to know one way or another. The buyers who like your property and are interested in buying it will be there that day.
Yep.
And if they're not, then you re-strategize to your plan B, which you should have had that discussion before auction day.
Correct.
So that is super important, and that's something that I would say you do really well. You're not just going to get everyone's hopes up here and then crunch down. I think that's just not.
No, you just want to be a realist. Like I still see today, to this day, I'll be sitting in cafes in Frankston South, and people come up and say, "Juan, look, I don't know if you remember me, blah blah blah. You called an auction, etc. We missed out, and they brought it somewhere else." But owners will always appreciate that honesty, and I always feel if you can treat people the way you want to be treated, and not get those sort of those hidden surprises where you've got all your fanfare, you've got your family, you think you're selling, and then the agents come up and say, "Hey, the buyer's just nowhere near what you want." It's such a deflating thing, and I saw that firsthand going back 20, 25 years ago, and it was a tactic to get the vendors to come down to meet the market. I'll be up front. There's properties that you and I will go to, and they'll say, "We want X, Y, Z, and we want you to go to auction," and we'll say, "Thanks, but no thanks. We don't want the business," because we know that it's not going to be in their best interest, but it's also going to not be in our best interest.
Yeah, we're not just there to. I think there's a lot of people out there, and I'm sure you would have seen it over your time for how long you've been doing it, buying listings, pumping, inflating egos. And,
hey, we
don't. That's a whole different. So we're not even going to get into that.
We're not even going to go down that path. But for us, it's like if you know where the market is and you can get people to fight for it. Hey, we see it all the time with all our properties. We go beyond and above for our clients to get them their best price. We're here to facilitate a marriage,
a seamless,
a marriage relationship between a buyer and a seller.
Yeah.
Matrimony, so to speak, and we've got to make sure that we get the right figure for our clients. And ultimately, as we know, the seller has the final decision on whether they're going to sell it or not.
Yeah, 100%.
Not us. We can bring,
and that's how all our paperwork and all that stuff is geared to that as well.
Correct.
I think that's which is good. So, guys, that wraps it up. I think that's everything that we wanted to discuss today. Obviously, make sure that your agent is coaching you. If you want to reach out, we've got an awesome auction bonanza. I think what is that going to be late? We've got
late October,
which is going to be.
We've got 5-6 auctions scheduled for September already, and with the back end of
we have
September.
5. We have one more spot available for September.
Yep.
And if you don't get put into that, you'll definitely be going into October.
Yep. So we've got Grand Final weekend, which is a long weekend, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the end of September, in the middle of school holidays. That's pretty much a dead rubber, but then we've booked in quite a lot. So we're looking forward to a really bumper spring, and it's right on our doorstep.
It'll be an awesome one. All right, guys. See you in the next one.